What are the modern day comparisons for the 6 teams that Michael Jordan beat in the NBA Finals? The 1991 Lakers. They were led by James Worthy, averaging 21 points, and the legend Magic Johnson, who was out of his prime in his last full season, but still gave you 19 and 12. Additionally, Byron Scott and Sam Perkins combined for 28 points per game, and they racked up 58 wins in a finals berth before losing in 5. They're the equivalent of the 2021 Suns, who finished with 51 wins, had a legendary point guard nearing the twilight of his career in Chris Paul, a leading bucket getter at 25 points per game with Booker, and key role players from Bridges to Cam Johnson, solidifying their depth. The 92 Blazers were Clyde Drexler's team. He was a top 5 player in the game, averaging 25, 6, and 6, but came across the best player in the league at the time, just like Paul George did in 2014. He took Indiana to the conference finals, averaging almost 23, 7, and 7 in the playoffs, and established himself as a top 10 level guy. And while the Pacers ran up against LeBron, they could have made a finals run any other year. The 1993 Suns are the 2019 Bucks. Both of these squads were led by 2 dominant forces who won the MVP, with Charles Barkley and Giannis. They both imposed their physical wills on their opponents, had solid role players with Middleton averaging 18 points per game, and Dan Marley giving the Suns 17 as well, and led their teams to 60-plus wins and the #1 seed. The 96 Sonics were explosive. They had a dynamic duo with Sean Kemp jumping out of the gym averaging 19 and 11, and Gary Payton as one of the all-time great agitators at the point. But guys like Detlef Schrempf and Hersey Hawkins brought depth to this roster, combined for 32 points per game and almost 40% three-point shooting, and unfortunately, just like the Lob City Clippers, they couldn't get over the hump. The 2015 Clippers had Blake Griffin showing out with his insane athleticism averaging 21 and 8, while Chris Paul was still at his peak, giving you 19 points, 10 assists, and 2 steals. You had the scoring of JJ Redick, Jamal Crawford, and not to mention DeAndre Jordan as their big. It's remarkable that they also couldn't win a title. Finally, the 97 and 98 finals featured Karl Malone and the Jazz. In 1997, he won the MVP, dropping almost 28 and 10, and had the help of John Stockton, who was still balling out with over 10 assists per game at age 34, along with Jeff Hornacek and his sharp shooting. The following year, Malone was still great, finishing second in MVP voting, yet him and his supporting cast still couldn't break through. And if this sounds familiar, it's because this was also the 2018 and 2019 Houston Rockets. Harden led both of these teams with historic numbers, winning the 2018 MVP, dropping 30 points and 8 assists, while Chris Paul added 18 points and 8 assists as well. They came 27 straight missed threes short of beating one of the greatest teams ever, and the following year, Harden had a top 2 MVP finish just like Malone, yet couldn't get to the top with virtually the same roster, and now both of these guys stand as 2 of the greats to never get a ring.